says, "Then he said to me, the waters which you saw where the harlot sits are peoples, multitudes, nations, and tongues." Let me ask you, is she ruling basically globally? Yes. Revelation 13 says that the whole world wondered after the what? The beast, who is the same as the harlot, we're going to notice. And so we have to find a harlot church, because a harlot represents a fallen church, according to what we've studied. It has to be a church that is what? Global or worldwide, but there's more. It has to be a church that is involved with the nations, with the political nations of the world. Notice Revelation chapter 17 and verse 2. Revelation chapter 17 verse 2. It's not only a church, it's not only a fallen church, it fornicates with the kings of the earth, just like Israel did. It says in Revelation 17 verse 2, "With whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth were made drunk with the wine of her fornication." Let me ask you, does she fornicate with the kings of the earth just like Israel did? Absolutely. But I want you to notice that she also has daughters. Did we notice that about Israel? Notice Revelation chapter 17 and verse 5. Revelation 17 verse 5. "And on her forehead a name was written, Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and of the abominations of the earth." Do we have the word abominations here too? We have the word fornication. We have the word harlot. She controls the many waters of the world, nations, multitudes, tongues, and peoples. Absolutely. And by the way, if she's a mother, she must have daughters, because I don't know the first mother that never had children. I know women who didn't have children. But mothers have children. And because she's a harlot, her daughters are also harlots. Now notice that she gives wine to the nations. Revelation 17 and verse 2. "With whom the kings of the earth committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth were made drunk with the wine of her fornication." You just have to accept by faith what I'm going to say now. The wine represents her false teachings in contradiction to the first angel's message. She fell because she rejected the first angel's message. The wine is the opposite of the first angel's message. We're going to study that in our next lecture. In other words, she gives her false teachings and her false practices to the nations, and she makes them what? Drunk. That's why when you preach the truth, people don't want to accept it. It's almost impossible to give a Bible study to a drunk. Of course, we're speaking about spiritual drunkenness. We're not talking about literal drunkenness. I want you to notice how this harlot is dressed. Revelation 17 verse 4. Let me ask you, was Israel dressed with gold and with silver and her ornaments and everything? Yeah. Notice Revelation 17 verse 4. "The woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet. And adorned with gold and precious stones and pearls, having in her hand a golden cup full of," here it is again, full of what? "Abominations and the filthiness of her fornication."